This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
I have talked about Christian nationalism who knows how many times now. I have warned you that I'm going to continue to talk about Christian nationalism and the dangers that it poses. I've also warned that when you hear the word Christian nationalist, you should affix the word white in there. White Christian nationalism. We've got a cadre of individuals out there right now pushing Christian nationalism. Tucker Carlson, to a certain degree, with just his open white supremacist message. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is just out front about her Christian nationalism. The same woman who goes and speaks to avowed white nationalist conferences led by Nick Fuentes. Lauren Boebert is another one. Lauren Boebert from Colorado, who really outs herself in this very brief clip I'm getting ready to play as just a phony, just a fake piece of shit. Watch her as she expounds the virtues of teaching the Constitution in school and maybe even biblical citizenship. I don't even know what that is. But notice how she switches from a really happy, jovial to immediately serious. She's a fake. Her ideas are nonsense, but she herself is just a bogus character. She's a dum-dum who stumbled into representing a congressional district and now is playing a role. Watch this clip, and then I'm going to address the white Christian nationalism versus Christian nationalism thing, because The Daily Show, they did my work for me, and I want to share something that they put together. Watch this clip of Lauren Boebert.
Maybe we need to have some sort of legislation that requires Constitution Alive and biblical citizenship training in our schools, and that's how we get things turned around. But there has to be real leadership from the Republicans, especially now.
Did you catch the moment that she went from all smiles, putting on the act, to her serious face? Briefly, just a few seconds. Again, watch this.
And that's how we get things turned around. But there has to be real leadership from the Republicans, especially now.
And that's how we get things turned around. But you know what we really need to do is phony, fake, fraud. What is biblical citizenship? What is she putting forward there? That all students, no matter their religion or lack thereof, get tested on biblical citizenship? Is she somehow suggesting that there's a test for citizenship that involves her particular holy scripture? So Muslim children, Jewish children would be required to learn lessons from the New Testament? It is to say that it's extra constitutional or outside the boundaries of our Constitution is not doing it justice. For the crowd that screams and wails and gnashes their teeth about adherence to our Constitution, especially the First Amendment, you would think that she would have some basic grade school understanding of our First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. We have a clear separation of church and state in this country. There will be no requirement to take biblical citizenship, you clown. And further, and more importantly, the topic today is when I talk about Christian nationalism being synonymous with white Christian nationalism. In previous videos on previous days, I have talked about the fact that you're not going to see, outside of some clowns who are chasing fame and chasing internet clout to try to attach themselves to the MAGA movement, you're not going to see in the black community churches that are espousing these values, forcing their beliefs on others. You're not going to see that kind of tyranny in the black community, because Christian nationalism is white Christian nationalism. And I was getting ready to put together, do a bunch of searching on the internet to compare the ideologies, to compare the language, and show you exactly what I'm talking about, to back up the claim that I'm making. Thankfully, The Daily Show, Comedy Central, has a much larger team and has the resources to do that. And they put together this clip to show you, juxtaposing the language of Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson, juxtaposing it against the former Grand Wizard of the KKK, David Duke, and others. Watch this.
We need to be the party of nationalism, and I'm a Christian and I say it proudly.
I am a Christian, and I'm not ashamed to say it.
We should be Christian nationalists.
A Christian nation.
The church is supposed to direct government, not the opposite.
Christianity is the underpinning of this country, our moral strength, our government rights and responsibilities.
We were founded by very strong Christians. These were men of faith.
Every sign of our Declaration of Independence was, in fact, a Christian.
Anti-racist is a whole weird ideology that, quite frankly, tries to make white people second-class citizens.
White Americans are being treated as second-class citizens.
There are now two standards of justice.
The dual system of justice.
They care more about the illegal immigrants at the border than they do the American people. They're giving out handouts to them.
Our country just don't care about us Americans. It's all about a handout to all the illegal immigrants.
The foreign-born population is now growing by 132,000 people every month.
The non-whites are reproducing rapidly.
If we continue on this trajectory, eventually there will be no more native-born Americans.
Our people literally are an endangered species. Our people are having few children. We've got to start protecting our race.
If you're white, you have to go to the back of the line, discriminating against white people.
There is racial discrimination going on right now in this country against massive numbers of white Americans.
How precisely is diversity our strength?
So how is diversity our strength?
And I'll point out, listen, the Democrats are the party of the Ku Klux Klan.
So to those of you, few out there, who pushed back and said that I'm making a leap, it's a leap in logic, it's a claim that can't be backed up, that Christian nationalism is the same thing as white Christian nationalism, I present to you that. There's a long history of white supremacists in this country who hold up Christianity as the only faith to adhere to. They make it a requirement to be a part of their particular organizations, whether that be the KKK or Aryan Nations or a constellation of other avowed white supremacist groups. They are also Christian supremacist groups. And if you don't believe that white supremacy can be compatible with Christianity, you've not been paying attention to the history of the United States, where slave owners used the Bible perniciously to justify their enslavement of millions of Africans. So, the battle continues, the fight continues, because they're not going away. It's going to take mobilization on our part to squelch their power in our system through elections. Even though they're trying to suppress the votes of black and brown people, these very people, they're trying to suppress the votes of people who don't think and act and look like them. And it's going to take mobilization to overwhelm the number of votes that they cast by getting your neighbors involved, waking them up to the scourge that is attempting to alter our country for generations to come. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. You can also email me, a regular old-fashioned email, daily at dollemore.com. Follow me on social media. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I am at Dollemore on all three of those platforms. I'd love to see you there. And if I do something for you, bring you some value, a smile, maybe not in this particular case today, but this next story is kind of funny that I'm going to be talking about. Cracker Barrel, as it were. Please consider supporting my work right here on YouTube. You can click the join button below this video, become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month. That's just pennies a day. Or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That's not just for my podcast, which you definitely should be subscribed to, a twice weekly audio podcast that you can find on Google Play and Apple Play, or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts. You can even just go straight to the website, dollemore.com, and find it there. We'd love to have you join us twice a week. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. Have a good weekend. Be genuine. Take care of one another.